In our previous session, we were looking at React events and we were learning components that are function components in React. In this session, we'll be taking a look at React class components. So we know how to create function components. We know how to handle events with respect to function components. If you're not clear with those concepts, please refer to my previous lecture video on React functional components. I'll be leaving the link for that description below. So what are React class components? What is the React class? It's nothing but a JavaScript class that extends the React component class. So what is a class component in React? It's nothing but a JavaScript class. We all know objects and classes. So it's a class in JavaScript that extends the built-in React component class. Since we are using a class, we call that to be a class component. We all know what is extends, it is with respect to inheritance. So what is the use of a class component? It's again very similar to a function component. It is used for managing states, handling events, and defining the UI for a component. So we'll now take a look at a sample class component. So this is how a class component looks like. The first statement is we have to import component from React and we can code our own classes. Here I have given the class name as my class. So class is the keyword, my class is the name for my class and it extends component. So component is the built-in class from React. And this class has got a render method which returns some JSX code. So we know what is JSX. We have already used JSX with respect to function components. So this JSX code is written within the render method which is present inside my class. And we are also exporting my class. So this is the simple class component that renders some JSX and we are calling this component in our index.js file. First we'll import the class from that specific file and then we'll be calling that specific class component using root.render. So this particular class component will be rendered and when it is rendered this will be the output. So that's how we create a very simple class component and how it is different from a function component. In a function component, we write it as a function, right? We use the keyword function and then we code it as a function. Whereas here, it's a class that is extending an inbuilt class in React that's called the component class. So let's now straight away try it out in VS Code. Let's code a simple class component and let's render it now. Let's go to VS Code. So here I have in VS Code index.js and let me first add a source file. There I'm on source and let me add a source file. I'll call it first class. So this is my first class.js and here what is that we are going to have is we are going to have this class. So let's import. What all we are going to import is React and we have to import that component class component from React. This is the first step. And next is we'll define our class. Class is the keyword and our class name is first class. So the file name is first class, the class name is also first class and it extends the component class. So that's the syntax. Your class should extend the built-in component class. And we are going to have this method render method which will return multiple lines of JSX. So you're going to have these parentheses and what is it we're going to have here is we'll be returning maybe an h1 element. So let's have this div element which is a parent element and inside this let me return an h1 element saying this is the first class I have coded. So this is the first class component, we'll say component I have coded and we should also export this export default first class. So our class component is ready. Next what we have to do is we have to render this component using index.js. So we'll give our component name here as first class. Save it Our development server is already running, and when you take a look at the output, um, first class is not defined. Let's take a look at there's an error. So what is the error is we should import first class here. So let me import this, import first class from firstclass.js. I think now the error will be rectified. Let's take a look at our output now. So this is the first class component I have coded. So what is that we have done right now is we have coded a class component in React. So what is that? We have imported the component from React, and we are creating our own class by name first class, which extends the component class. And there's a method inside a class which returns some JSX code, and we are exporting this class. We are rendering this using our index.js, and inside root.render, we are calling our uh, class component first class. And the very important step is we should import that class before even calling that here. So we have seen the output. The output is here. This is the first class component I have coded. I hope you are able to follow this concept. The next concept we're going to take a look at is how to pass props. So passing props to class component. We've already seen how to pass props to the function components. It's the same way. So we're going to have the class component name. So here our class component is first class, and we can pass any props we want. Say class course equals Java. This is the parameter we are passing. And how is that we are going to receive that in our class component is the parameters are by default available under this dot props dot whatever parameter you're passing. So you can very well access it by default like this. So you have to use this dot props dot whatever parameter you're passing. So now let's pass some parameters to our first class component. They will use props with respect to our first class component. Now let's go to Visual Studio Code and perform this exercise. So here in VS Code, we have our first class component being rendered here. Let's pass this parameter class course, and we'll call that course to be Java. So this parameter, this props is getting passed to our component first class. And how is it we are going to access that props here is that props is available by default under, say, the content is, it's available under this dot props dot class course. So whatever props you are passing to a class component will be available under this dot props dot. So we have this dot props dot. What is class course? That is the parameter we are passing. So once when you have made the changes, when you save that, and when you take a look at the output, you'll be able to see the content is Java. Are you clear with this? So we have passed some props. We can also pass multiple props here, like class course equal to Java. Say venue is SJT. So we are passing props here. And how will you access the multiple items you're passing? The content is this, and the venue is, we can say, this dot props dot venue. So that's how you access the multiple data items you're passing. Let's take a look at the output. Let's refresh this. The venue is, let's take a look at this, SJT. Let's save all. So you have to save the index.js, and you should also save first class.js. Now let's take a look at the output. You see we are getting the output. The content is Java and the venue is SJT. So what is it we understand from this exercise is we can pass props to our class component. I hope you are clear with how to create a class component, a very simple class component, and how to pass props to class components.